Welcome back, everybody, to the Jocks of All Trades podcast. I'm Kyle, and today we're continuing on through our offseason preview. Today is the NFC South, so we're going to go over the Falcons, the Panthers, the Saints, and the Buccaneers. Before we do that, we're going to go with our contributors and our sponsors. We'll be right back.
Fresh Cuts is our amazing sponsor who's been with us since 2020. Fresh Cuts is the local barbershop hangout in Marion, Indiana. If you're looking for a full-service barber with excellent cuts and a welcoming atmosphere, contact Caleb Kemper for an appointment time through www.freshcutsbarbershop.com. Mondays are the best days to get in, although he has plenty of time slots available. And if you happen to miss us live, you'll be hearing us in the shop while you enjoy your fresh cut. Slide on by to Fresh Cuts to pick up some stylish footwear with Caleb's Fresh Kicks collection. From Nike to Jordans, he offers the best price for quality kicks. And if you don't find what you like, Caleb offers custom work for $250. Stop over to 1224 North Baldwin Ave in Marion to pick up yours today, or Caleb also ships all over the U.S. Message him for prices and sizes. Our other people we sponsor, Steve Wood Illustrations and Ronald Morell for Mayor, check out their respective pages on Facebook. And our other friends at other podcasts, the Culture Corner podcast, 1,000 Wives of Weird, and Rules of the Frame. Check them out on their respective platforms listed below.
So, NFC South time, Falcons, Panthers, Saints, and Buccaneers. We're first going to go with the Buccaneers, but this division was one of the worst divisions, if not the worst division last year. Buccaneers 8-9, Saints 7-10, Falcons 7-10, Panthers 7-10. It was just a really, really bad division overall. But Buccaneers are first place team, so we're going to talk about them here first. Obviously, most of you know, I'm sure, I hope, that Tom Brady obviously retired, and so that's one big thing. He's gone. He's retired. No more. We hope. Go off and play with your kids. Find a new wife. I don't care. Whatever. He's gone. Maybe he'll come back. I don't know. We don't care. But the Buccaneers are probably moved on from Tom Brady here, and that's a big thing. But they are kind of in cap hell here. The number that I have is negative $55 million, and it's Yeah, it's not a good number whatsoever. They can get to the positive side for sure, but a lot needs to be done. They're not going to have much room in free agency. They have a good number of draft picks. They have a first round, a second round, a third, 2 fifths, 2 sixths, and 2 sevenths. So they have a lot of capital there to make up ground and get some better players in, but just not a lot of cap room for them to do much. Some things that they could do to relieve that. Now, Donovan Smith was released to tackle. He had a really bad year last year. He gave up a lot of sacks. That's going to help them out. Shaq Mason, they could get rid of him, and that's $9.6 million they'll save. Ryan Suckup, about $4 million. Leonard Fournette's gone. That will save him $4 million. Cameron Brate, he's gone. That saved him a little bit of money too. So they're probably not at that negative $55 million that I have here, but they're still in dire need of getting in a good place. The free agents that they have Levante David as a free agent, really good linebacker. I mean, him and Devin White were an incredible pair. Akeem Hicks is a free agent. Sean Bunting, corner, and Jamel Dean. Both those guys are free agents, and I would expect both of them to leave, go elsewhere, and that'll give a massive need for the Buccaneers at corner. They also hired Dave Canales as their offensive coordinator, former Seattle quarterback coach in 22. Helped Geno, and Geno rose to stardom, had a really excellent year. And Dave has been with Seattle since 2010. I think that's a good hire, especially if you're going to have a new quarterback in here. Kyle Trask or a rookie. I don't think there's going to be a free agent quarterback that they're going to love and stick in there. I think guys like Jimmy Garoppolo will go elsewhere. If a guy like maybe Matt Ryan gets released, maybe that's an option. But other than that, I don't think there's many options in free agency for the quarterback position besides Jimmy G. So potential targets, I do have Jimmy Garoppolo there in case they don't trust Kyle Trask. I have Marcus Davenport at defensive end. And I wrote that because I think they do have a definite need at defensive end, but with the way that their cap is structured right now, I don't know if that's going to be feasible. Anthony Brown at corner, I think they have a need at corner. Like we just mentioned, Jamel Dean and Button are free agents. So Anthony Brown at corner, I think would make a lot of sense. He's a cheaper option, had a down year for the Cowboys, but I think he can still be productive and play a lot of snaps for you. If we just take a look at their depth chart, I mean, running back's not a great room. Tight end's not a great room. Kate Otton's not bad. He came on at the end of last year. Offensive line is a mess. I like their defensive line. Vita Vea, always having a guy like Vita Vea there, and Logan Hall as well. Joe Tryon there. Carl Nassib as a backup. They got some players on the D-line. But if Levante David's a free agent, and then I'm hearing rumors of Devin White, he could be a name that could get traded. Watch out for that. And I don't know if Shaq Barrett played up to the level that he's capable of playing. Only had 3 sacks last year. So they have a lot of needs, especially when they're losing those corners as well. A lot of need for the Buccaneers, and Tom Brady covered a lot of holes for them, but he's not there anymore. And Kyle Trask, I don't think will be able to take that team to where they want to go. He's not Tom Brady. So, yeah, I think we're going to go with potential draft targets now for the Buccaneers. Anthony Richardson is someone I think they could trade up for. If you remember, a number of years ago, they went up and traded for a guy named Josh Freeman. Big physical quarterback, definitely not as fast as Richardson is, definitely not as much of a freak athlete as Richardson is, but I think that is in the wheelhouse. I think gears are turning. I think they're definitely able and willing to go up and get a quarterback, no matter if it's Anthony Richardson or Will Levis. Now, will they roll the dice with Kyle Trask? Sure, because if you look at next year's crop of quarterbacks in the draft, it's also very, very good. So, but I still think he's on their list, or Will Levis. Josh Wiley at tight end, the Cincinnati tight end, kind of the heir apparent to the Brent Sellecks and the Travis Kelce's of Cincinnati tight ends. He really looks up to those guys. Big physical tight end. And they have Trey Dean, the safety / corner / linebacker, like whatever you want him to be, out of Florida. I think he can make a lot of sense for that secondary. He can stay there down in Florida, and he can do a lot of different things. He can play nickel. He can play outside, a little on the slower side, but I think he could step up in the box too and do some good things. Just kind of like a chess piece for the Buccaneers to move around, for Todd Bowles to move around. I think that's a good idea. And then I have a little mock draft for the Buccaneers. I have Joey Porter going to them at pick 19. Again, they're losing these 2 physical corners on the outside. You need to replace that. You don't want your defense to be down in the dumps. I think Joey Porter at 19 is a guy that could be there. And I think that will help your defense tremendously. I have them taking John Michael Schmitz at the 2nd round pick. And I think if Ryan Jensen's gone, but even if he's not, I think one of those guys could definitely play guard, Schmitz or Ryan Jensen. But they need some interior line help. And then round 3, I have Jalen Duncan from Maryland, the tackle. And again, their offensive line needs a lot of help. I like Tristan Wirfs there at right tackle, but I think Jalen Duncan is a supremely athletic, physical tackle who hasn't reached his peak yet, has not reached his ceiling. I think he can be someone that will develop over time and can be a starter and a legit left tackle starter down the road. Now, if you followed us for the last couple podcasts, you know that I like to ask one big question for each team. And the big question for the Buccaneers is, will the Bucs without Tom Brady go back to the basement, or can they get back to the playoffs with their current roster? That's a big question. So as I listed their depth chart, it's not great. They have a lot of holes. With the quarterbacks that they could possibly get, and I'll put this in order: Jimmy Garoppolo, Marcus Mariota, Gardner Minshew, Hendon Hooker. Like, I think those are probably the most reasonable quarterback options. And I don't think any of them can get the Buccaneers back to the playoffs. I think if Derek Carr was an option there, I do think that would have been possible. I think he would have probably gotten them to like a 9-7 or 9-8 or a 10-7 type of year. I think that would have been possible. But with the quarterbacks that I just listed, and also with Kyle Trask, I have not seen enough out of him. I haven't seen much of him at all. I don't think they can go to the playoffs. And I do think they're going to go back to the basement. And I do think they're going to be a potential top 10, top 5 pick next year and in line, maybe the first in line for a quarterback. So we're going to move on here to the Carolina Panthers, second place in the NFC South. So good job by them. Started off slow. New head coach, Frank Reich. Congratulations, Frank. I think you got screwed in Indianapolis with whatever the heck they're doing over there. That's kind of a crap show. I mean, obviously, I like Shane Steichen there, but in terms of overall management and front office type of things, I'm glad Frank got out of there. But they went 7-10. Their cap space right now is about -9, -10 million. And they just did a restructure with Taylor Moton, and that might have put them in the positive to maybe 2 or 3 million. So they're already starting to work and getting into the positive side. New OC for them, Thomas Brown, new DC, Hero Evero. So some new coaches there, some new blood for the Carolina Panthers to work with. But overall, I mean, impressive by Steve Wilkes and company to come back and produce and get wins and stack up wins and just play well down the stretch. They definitely had a shot in the playoffs there for a tiny bit, but really impressive with what they did. With the current crop of players that they have too, because they didn't have a star quarterback. They got rid of McCaffrey, had some injuries, had a lot of young guys on the offensive line and defense. So very impressive, job well done. But they have a good number of picks this year. They have round 1, 2 second round picks, 1 third, 2 fourths, 1 fifth, and 1 seventh, and they're picking 9 overall. So they're in a very, very good spot to select someone. Their key free agents this year: Matthew Ioannidis, D tackle; Sam Darnold, quarterback; Deonta Foreman, running back; and Bradley Bozeman, center/guard. I think out of these 4 right here, these 4 big ones, Bradley Bozeman is the guy that they most likely want to retain. I think they like what they have in Bozeman. They love what they have in Ikem Ekwonu. They love what they have in Brady Christensen. Taylor Moton's coming back. We talked about that. And Pat Elflein played some time too. So I think they actually have a decent offensive line. I think it's going to continue to get better with the young guys with Ikem Ekwonu and Christensen. Moton's not bad. Austin Corbett's there, and he's played a lot of football. So I really like the direction of their offensive line. I think it obviously can get better, don't get me wrong. I think Brady Christensen is more of a tackle. And so that could be an option for them to dish Taylor Moton, put Christensen back at tackle, and have a guard opening for someone that they like. But receivers, I like DJ Moore, Terrace Marshall Jr. He was a second-round pick a couple of years ago. Not the career that they've wanted him to have so far. Only 620 yards in 2 years and 2 touchdowns, but he's still there. I think receiver could definitely be an option in free agency or draft for them. Defense, love their defense. Brian Burns, Derek Brown. I like Yetur Gross-Matos. I like Shaq Thompson, Jeremy Chin, J.C. Horn. I think they have a lot of good guys. Dante Jackson, CJ Henderson's there in that trade. Xavier Woods is actually a pretty good safety for them as well. He's played a lot of football. So I like what they have on their team. I just think they're missing a couple pieces that could really take them over the top. Potential targets for them in free agency. Isaac Samalo at guard. Like I said, if they dish Moton, put Brady at right tackle or left tackle, and stick Isaac Samalo at guard, I think that could really improve their team. And all three of these guys that I have for them, I have Isaac Samalo, Bobby Okereke, and Rocky Asin. All of these guys have had some overlap with Frank Reich. So I think if he's looking to bring in any free agents, it's guys he's already worked with. I think they have a need at corner, and they have a need at linebacker as well. I think Bobby Okereke could provide some really good depth and really good play for them. And Rocky Asin has also played a lot of football. Not an elite talent by any measure, but I think a good football player nonetheless. So those are three guys that you could look for. Potential draft targets for them. I have Osiris Torrance, guard, massive guard. Hendon Hooker, quarterback, in case they don't take one in round 1. I have Devin A-Chain, a super fast track star kind of running back, ran the fastest 40 for running back at the combines, just electric, super fast. And I have Diane Henley, the linebacker, who a lot of people have kind of likened him to a Fred Warner type linebacker, a little undersized but incredibly fast, a good blitzer, played receiver in high school and college, played corner, I believe, too. So he's kind of been all around, but a supremely athletic linebacker that they could target and put in the middle of their defense. Him and Shaq Thompson would be a very good duo. But a little mock draft that I have for the Carolina Panthers, I have Anthony Richardson at quarterback. I think that is a realistic option for them. I think they can definitely package round 1, pick 9, and a second rounder and move up to get their guy. I think they're looking at Richardson, but they also could be looking at Will Levis as well. Round 2, I have them selecting Luke Musgrave. He would be a very good tight end in the Panthers offense. They need a tight end. I'm not too keen on Ian Thomas or Tommy Tremble as a number 1 tight end option. And like we've said many times in this podcast before, quarterback's best friend is a tight end, and they have a need at tight end. Luke Musgrave is a very athletic tight end that can step in there day 1 and produce. I have Isaiah Foskey at defensive end as their other second-round pick, and he would be a nice addition to their defensive line in case Yetur Gross-Matos gets traded. I think he could be a guy that I think he might be on the last 1 or 2 years of his deal and could be a guy that the Panthers look to move for some draft capital. There's a lot of teams around the league that look for pass rush help. There's a lot of teams around the league that like to look at guys on their last year of their contracts and hopefully find a bargain. So he could be an option that gets traded there and replace him with Isaiah Foskey. Then I also have Kendre Miller, the running back at TCU. He can just do a lot for an offense. He's very shifty. He has good hands as well. I feel like he could operate really well in the Panthers offense. And if they do lose Deonta Foreman, I'm not too sure they will. I feel like they will want to bring Deonta Foreman back in the fold, and they really like what he did this last year as running back number 1 after Christian McCaffrey was traded. Over 900 yards this year, 4.5 yards per carry, 5 touchdowns, pretty productive. And they do like Chuba Hubbard too. So maybe they won't go running back, but I feel like there is an option for them to go running back either in free agency. This is a very deep free agent draft. Or they can go running back in free agency or in a draft. Both are very, very, very deep. So as you know, we like to ask a question for each team here. And is it better for the Panthers to draft a quarterback or go after one that's on the market? What is more beneficial for their team long term? And I wanted to place this here right now because Lamar Jackson is still out there. Now, I know the Ravens, I don't know, but I would hope the Ravens want to bring him back into the fold, pay him what he deserves, and make him their guy forever. I feel like that is a reasonable thing to do. we've seen recently that Lamar Jackson has he's wanted a new contract, a big one. He's not too happy with how it's gone. He deserves more. And the Ravens don't really seem keen on giving him what he wants. So options have flown out there: the Falcons, the Panthers, the Saints before Derek Carr got there. A team like the Titans or the Texans, or the Lions. I don't know. There's just so many teams out there that could use someone like Lamar Jackson. I think the Panthers are one of those teams. So that is the best option out there, possibly. So I guess the real question is, should they go for Lamar Jackson, or should they go for someone they can draft? I'm a big believer in getting a quarterback on a rookie deal and building your team that way. It is, unless the quarterback is Patrick Mahomes or Tom Brady, it is super hard to continually go back to the playoffs, to the Super Bowl, to be competitive every year when you're paying your quarterback that much money. It's hard for most teams. Again, if you're not Patrick Mahomes or one of the elite quarterbacks. I love Lamar Jackson, what he's done in his career. And I wouldn't say I'd be sad if they got Lamar Jackson, or I think it's a bad deal. I think it's a very good deal if they were to give up a couple firsts or a couple seconds next year as well. But for overall team building, for the overall process for them, I feel like it'd be better for them to trade up in this draft and grab their guy, Anthony Richardson or Will Levis or CJ Stroud. Personally, I would have CJ Stroud up there. I think he'd be a really good fit with Frank Reich. However, I have a feeling they're going to go with the more athletic guy, Richardson or Levis. So, again, I wouldn't be upset if they go after Lamar and get him. That adds so much to your team, so much more of a dynamic offense. But ultimately, you do have some needs there that you can address in the draft or in free agency with the money that you have that you probably wouldn't have if you got Lamar Jackson. So I'm all in on drafted quarterback for the Carolina Panthers. Next is the New Orleans Saints. And actually, I had Derek Carr on here as a potential target. This is before he actually signed there. So I win that one. But overall, they were 7-10 this year. They have a lot of negative numbers here, negative $52 million in cap space. Now their GM is very good at getting out of cap hell, and I'm sure they will, but that is a massive number. So not looking great. New DC, Joe Woods. Obviously, we know Dennis Allen is still their head coach, who has coached alongside of Derek Carr, who's been there with Derek Carr for a few years with the Raiders. So that's some familiarity there. Draft picks, they have a first-round pick, a second-round pick, a third, a fourth, 2 fifths, and 2 sevenths. So they have a lot of capital to replace here. As for the Saints in their cap situations, I mean, Jameis Winston is there. Maybe Michael Thomas, maybe a Cameron Jordan trade. Lots of options to cut down on cap there, but they really need to do it. They're not going to have many free agent targets with the cap that they're in. They're key free agents right now, and I don't think they're going to re-sign any of these guys. Jarvis Landry at receiver, Bradley Roby at corner, Marcus Davenport, who's going to get a big payday for whoever he goes to, at defensive end, and David Onyemata, D tackle. All those guys, I'm pretty sure all of those guys will be gone, are going to go somewhere else, and because the Saints just don't have the money. Potential targets for the Saints, Derek Carr, like we said, he's on a team now. Mecole Hardman, I think, would be a cheaper option at receiver. If a Marquez Callaway does not come back, if they trade away Michael Thomas, I love what Chris Olave offers on their team, but I think they need more of a speed demon for them to succeed. And then I also have Jimmy Ward at safety, who's kind of an older safety for the 49ers, who I think would be a cheaper option at safety for the Saints. He can probably play some corner too. And they have a few guys back there, including Tyrann Mathieu. So potential draft targets for the New Orleans Saints, I have Antonio Johnson at safety from Texas A&M. I have Hendon Hooker, the quarterback from Tennessee. And I have Jonathan Mingo, the receiver from Ole Miss. Mingo's more of a possession, physical type receiver that I think could replace Michael Thomas if he gets traded. But the Saints have a lot of things to do. A lot of money to cut, probably a lot of players to trade. It seems like they want to go all in and compete again, so maybe they won't make as many trades. They'll just try to get under the cap and compete. I personally do not feel like they have a good enough roster to compete this year. I don't. I mean, I like Chris Olave. I do. I like Alvin Kamara, but he's kind of in trouble right now. I like their offensive line. Their defensive line's, getting kind of old. Like Cameron Jordan's really, I think, the most positive, most productive one. He's not young. Demario Davis at linebacker is pretty old. Like Tyrann Mathieu, he's getting up there. Marshawn Lattimore is good, but I mean, I still think they have a lot of questions. I think their offensive line is the best thing they have, and games can be won on the O-line, but Derek Carr has gotten a lot in his career with the Raiders, and I don't know if the Saints offer that much more than what Derek Carr has had. I really don't. I mean, he had Devontae Adams this last year. He had Josh Jacobs this last year. He's had Darren Waller in his career. He's had Henry Ruggs before all that. Like he had him. He's had a lot of guys, a lot of help in his career. He's had John Gruden as his head coach, and he really hasn't done anything. I think these teams look to these quarterbacks and hope they can save them, and they're hoping Derek Carr can take them to the playoffs and compete. But even if he does make the playoffs next year, I don't think he's going to get very far. But let's ask the question here for the Saints for this next year. The big question, are the Saints ready to be a playoff contender? Well, we just kind of talked about that a little bit. I think they can make the playoffs with their current roster. If they get down under the cap a little bit, and still retain most of these guys along the O-line, along their D-line, they can do that. I think they can definitely make the playoffs in this division. I just don't know if their plan is worth it. I don't know if giving 3 years to Derek Carr with all this money is worth it. I don't. I feel like the smartest thing to do is to trade back, get a guy like Hendon Hooker as your third-round pick. I made a little mock for them. The first-round pick, I have Will McDonald at defensive end, round 2, Tyreek Stevenson at corner, round 3, Hendon Hooker. I think getting a guy like Hendon Hooker, if you're trading back, is a better option to let him heal, let him progress, and put him in on a rookie contract and build up your team. Because I think the greatest strength is your offensive line, right? It is, no doubt. Why not play a young quarterback behind him? Like I think you would be able to draft a Hendon Hooker or a, God forbid, Tanner McKee. I don't know. Like I think there's better options out there that you could have went with, and you wouldn't have had to pay that much money. So can the Saints make the playoffs next year? I think they can, no doubt, for sure. But I'm going to say they won't. And even if they do, I don't think they're going to get very far with Derek Carr. I think that he's ultimately going to disappoint because I don't think he's that good. If you disagree with me, I'm sorry. Let's go on to the final team, the Atlanta Falcons. They were in last place, 7-10 this year. They have a lot of cap space. New DC, Ryan Nielsen. Lots of cap space, about $56 million, and they might have more. And they have a number of picks too. They have round 1. They have 1 in round 2, 1 in round 3, 2 in round 4, 1 in round 5, 1 in round 6, and 2 in round 7. Lots of picks to get some more talented players on their team. Key free agents, they have Rashaan Evans. I think they could bring him back. Lorenzo Carter at linebacker, defensive end. Caleb McGarry, who I think is going to get a lot of money, but I think the Falcons can pay him. We'll see where he ends up going. Isaiah Oliver at corner and Olamide Zaccheaus at receiver. I think they can upgrade at receiver, so he might be gone, but I don't think he'll cost that much anyway. So they have money to re-sign these guys if they want. I think number one target obviously is Caleb McGarry. Get him back. He was a very, very solid piece in their offense. He does really well in the kind of running offense they want to run. With Jake Matthews at left tackle, Lindstrom at right guard. I like what their offensive line does. I think they can improve a little bit interior-wise with Wilkinson and Drew Dahlman there and Matt Hennessy. Like I think there's some options there to improve. I think they can definitely improve that receiver. I like what Tyler Algier did, but I think they can improve at running back. I like Richie Grant at safety, but I don't think he's been tremendous. AJ Terrell at corners, obviously very good. And we know what Grady Jarrett can do. And they have young guys like Arnold Ebiketie there and Troy Anderson, who are supremely talented. But I still think they have a lot of needs to address. And it's good because they have a lot of money and they have a lot of picks. So Falcons fans think this should be a very, very exciting offseason for you in terms of re-signing guys, signing free agents, maybe getting a quarterback, and drafting some pretty good players. Potential targets for the Atlanta Falcons, I have Draymond Jones at D tackle. He's going to get a hefty payday, and I like putting someone next to I love putting someone next to Grady Jarrett, getting someone right next to him to eat up some space or to also slash in the backfield, just someone that teams have to, just have to worry about. And I think the defense they kind of run, they do run a 3-4. Grady Jarrett's at one defensive end. So if you can kind of upgrade the other defensive end spot over Taquan Graham, get a guy like Draymond Jones in there, I think that could do some wonders for your defensive line. I have James Bradbury at corner. Again, they have a lot of money. Bradbury's going to command probably $13 million per year on the open market, and I think that's a solid need for them, the other corner position. And then Jesse Bates, the safety. I talked about I love Richie Grant coming out of college, but I still think there is an overwhelming need at safety, and Jesse Bates is definitely one of the best safeties in the league, I think, and can improve your secondary. And they might have money to get all of these guys. I don't know if there's anybody besides Caleb McGarry that they'll need to extend. Maybe AJ Terrell soon, but they have a lot of young guys on their team, including Drake London and Kyle Pitts. So they have the money to spend. I think they're gonna go spend it. Potential draft targets. I have Zay Flowers at receiver. I think he could provide a lot of dynamic play and speed to that offense. Tyree Wilson at defensive end. Cam Smith at corner, and Christopher Smith, safety out of Georgia. Could be a later round pick for them as well. Now, a little mock draft that I did for the Atlanta Falcons. I have Anthony Richardson at quarterback at number 8, Felix Nduke-Uzomah at edge at round 2, and Parker Washington in round 3 for them. All these guys could definitely help, but the big thing with the Falcons, I think the overarching most pertinent point we can talk about is what they do at the quarterback position. This is the team that I think has the most likely chance to trade up for a quarterback or trade their assets for Lamar Jackson. Like I said, that they do have some needs, but they also love listen, Arthur Smith is their head coach. What was he known for with the Titans? He was known for having Ryan Tannehill and Derrick Henry in the backfield, doing a lot of different running variations. Also, he had Marcus Mariota at one point, and oh my gosh, Marcus Mariota was just on the Falcons. So I think there's some camaraderie there. I think getting a guy like Anthony Richardson or Lamar Jackson, I think that definitely fits what they want to do schematically. But we've seen reports, we've heard rumors that no one's interested in Lamar, and it might be a situation where the Ravens put him out on this tag and say, hey, you can offer him whatever you want, but we're going to match it. So it's kind of like all these teams doing the dirty work and the Ravens just sitting back and letting the league determine what he's worth. Kind of crappy, in my opinion. I understand Lamar has had some injury issues, and I understand he hasn't been too successful in the playoffs, but ultimately I don't think you've given him a ton. And I guess this conversation is more for a Ravens type of podcast or a AFC North type of podcast. However, the Falcons have some work to do at figuring out who their quarterback is going to be. Because I don't think they love Desmond Ridder. Like you can draft a quarterback in the 3rd round, and the next year get your guy. We've seen it all the time. You could even draft the quarterback in the 1st round, and the next year say, I like this guy better. Like this is a quarterback-driven league, and they need to figure it out. And I don't think Desmond Ridder at quarterback 1 makes them like feel safe and comfortable and secure. Definitely not. Like that's bull. It's not going to happen. So for the Falcons, they need to figure out this quarterback position, and I think they should go for Lamar. I think they should give up. They have the money, they have the picks, and I think they have a team that could compete and get there right away, get in the playoffs right away. Their defense is not great, but it's improving. And again, with the money that they have, they can get a couple pieces and a Lamar Jackson, and Lamar can have a good offensive line in front of him. Kyle Pitts, Drake London, and maybe, I don't know, get a speed demon in the 3rd or 4th round like a Tank Dell. And I think you have more on the Falcons than you've ever had on the Ravens. And I think Lamar would be very happy with that. I think the Falcons would be very happy with that. The only team that would not be happy probably is the Ravens, because at first they would think they're happy with all the picks that they got, but then they'll realize, oh crap, we don't really have a quarterback. So big thing for the Falcons to figure out, no doubt. I think this is a team that if they get Lamar Jackson, I think they could make the playoffs over these other lesser teams in the NFC South. But ultimately, this is a week-to-week league, man. Like it's who knows what's truly going to happen. There's rumors flying every day all around. You really don't know what to believe or what to think. But I truly do believe that the Falcons are definitely talking to the Ravens about, or talking in-house about Lamar Jackson. I don't believe for a second that they're like, nah, I don't really want him. They're definitely talking about Lamar, and they're talking about Anthony Richardson too. Those are 2 guys at the top of their list, and I'm sure of it. They're definitely not comfortable with Desmond Ridder. So we kind of answered the big question, which is rookie quarterback Lamar Jackson. I think it should be Lamar. You could have a different opinion. Let me know what you think. But that was our last team of the NFC South. And soon you guys will see the rest of the divisions. We're going to start with the AFC here soon as well. So if you stuck around this long, guys, thank you so much for sticking around, for listening to me blabber on. We really appreciate it. We have some fun things coming up. We have some live mock drafts coming up. So if you want to be involved in that or any other one of our shows, like if you have the want or desire to hop on, like let me know. We would love to have you and talk about football with you. So thanks for a great one, guys, and we'll see you on the next one.